So let's move on to the next question.
All right. So, this is kind of a broader question than just kind of a typical day in the life. But how does NMDELT serve the adult ed field in New Mexico?
Jennifer, you want to go reverse order on this one?
I mean, you guys got to be tired of me by now. Please do, because I've got this great conclusion I'm coming to.
Perfect. We could never be tired of you, but we can save the best for last on occasion. NMDELT, I think, serves the field by meeting programs where they're at. And that's something that I really appreciate about NMDELT. We provide remote trainings. We provide trainings in multiple locations across the state. We try to be really mindful about getting out into those areas that aren't in the central corridor. That way we can be accessible to rural programs. And we try to have a balance of things that people can do synchronously or asynchronously, in person or remotely. That way, our instructors, many of whom are part-time across the field, many of whom, like all of us, have other jobs, additional responsibilities, so that they can access that professional development training, because we have these great national conferences like the COAVE conference or the Career Pathways Network conference, but those aren't necessarily the most accessible to instructors who are working in our programs. And so NMDELT provides that service of being local, being accessible, being personalized.
Very well said, Emily. I agree.
To me, what we do is, again, validating, because how many of our instructors do not feel like they are as important or as worthwhile as a professor, or even in the high school situation where in America, money speaks, and adult ed cannot afford to pay instructors what they're worth. They can pay a sliver of it. So someone attending to their needs, somebody caring about them, somebody saying, hey, we see you and we want to provide you the tools to help you do what you do until this world gets itself together and realizes that you are worth billions. And I want to go on record as saying that our instructors are worth billions. And if I had it, I'd pay them and buy a lot of ice cream.
That's lovely. So when I think of this question is, how does NMDELT serve the adult ed field? I'm speaking, of course, coming from that kind of admin side, right? So how does NMDELT serve the field is, for me, for DELT, it's really about providing additional support. So we have our, our instructor support, of course, that Emily kind of mentioned earlier. But also, when I look at it as a professional developer, it's more opportunities for multimodal learning. So, multi is multiple modalities, so different types. And NMDELT provides just two examples of that, which we're kind of going to get into in a hot minute, but sort of new, but kind of not. What is it? Tech Tuesdays, Jamie, like a year?
They're almost a year old. Yep.
Yeah. So I think of the example, right? Is like our Tech Tuesday series, which is based on this idea of micro learning. So it's like little bite-sized bits on how to do certain things. So we have that video series. So that's one mode of learning. Learn how to do something really quick for 5 minutes, right? It's just something with our tools. And we have a bunch of different themes and how that works. And then there's another thing that's also, I think, a year old or so, is our Google intensive, which is 2 half days, intense weaving through different Google tools for beginners and intermediate learners. And that is like, I wouldn't say it's the complete opposite of Tech Tuesdays, but it's very different. It still is more kind of like just an overview rather than in depth, but it's hybrid. So it's in person and online. We have those fancy owl cameras that we use, and it's synchronous, whereas Tech Tuesday is asynchronous. If you want to learn how to use Google Calendar at 2 a.m, you're more than welcome to. But Mariah is not going to show you how to use Google Calendar at 2 a.m. Absolutely not. I won't let you. I don't know if you actually do that, but I will. Absolutely not. You go, if you're up with your giant mug of coffee, you better be reading a book or doing something for you, not for the field. Yeah. So anyway, back to that. It's just new opportunities to practice and develop those tech skills and that skill set because those are such an important part learning now. It's just our reality. It's not even saying future forward. It's now forward. It's now. We need to learn how to use these tools. We need to get comfortable with them. We need to be able to get to a point of where we have a foundation of digital skills so that we build off that. And that's kind of like what the DELT team does. Is like Jennifer mentioned earlier, she didn't know how to use Nearpod, but she had that aptitude and that foundational knowledge of skills to build on that, to learn how to use it. Because that's really it. Where no one here, I mean, Mariah, your skill set is unparalleled. But I would say, like, I wouldn't say anyone here is necessarily a master, but we're really good at picking things up and learning and figuring out a way to get you guys to learn, right? So that's kind of like what DELT is to me as leader. Man, I don't know, whatever. So what are some new projects or initiatives coming soon?
Okay, I'm going to jump in. One, Mental Health Monday, because teaching can be isolating and it can drain us and it can drain our students. So with the direction of the NMDELT team, I've been trying to put together modules that address mental health issues in teaching, but also equip teachers with way to deal with it, and also equip teachers with little mini lessons that they can use for their own students maybe experiencing these wretched things. And they're all in Nearpod because Mariah, the Nearpod master, is going to be teaching people how to use Nearpod, and I'm going to assist her.
Thank you. I think that's one of our biggest things is just getting it up, because we do have we do have some seats that have been purchased by the state for the Nearpod license. And so that's one of our big things is we've had it for a couple of years. We've had Nearpod for a couple of years, but anytime an instructor would request that pro account, we've noticed that it just doesn't get used. It's just kind of one of those check boxes where they're creating their NMDELT account and it's on there to request one. So they just put it on there. And so we had a lot of seats filled, but a lot of those people never logged on. And so this was kind of an idea from Tina where she was like, how do we get it to where people are actively using Nearpod? And so I think we started a little bit last year with just starting to do a lot more presentations on what is Nearpod and how to use it and the basics. And I threw myself into the deep end is what happened with this. Is I said, oh, Tina, wouldn't it be great if, and she said, yeah, go ahead and do it. I was like, oh, wait, that kind of backfired on me. And so when it kind of came time to build a course, I remember trying to do it in Moodle and I was just not working. And so Jennifer really helped to develop this idea of getting Nearpod up and off the ground. And so that's a really exciting because it's something that instructors, directors, anyone can use to help better their program in general.
Thank you. And yeah, that Nearpod is very exciting. Also, I think that's just a field thing because I feel like my whole career in adult ed has been, hey, I have an idea for this thing, and then someone's just like, great, go figure it out. I'm almost always given permission, but at the risk of I have to figure out something that no one's been doing because I have wacky ideas. So I think that's just the field.
Well, it made sense because I know Tina had so much on her plate, and I was like, you know what, we should do this and we should do that. She's like, great, go ahead and run with it. I was like, oh, but my runner is broken. I don't have no running energy in me. But it's really nice to have that freedom to kind of pave the way, and that's really, really nice because you get to go in that direction you want to. The road might not be pretty at first, but it gets there. One thing that I'm very appreciative about with this team is it's not one person focused. I mean, we do a lot and there's a lot of, like I said, I have my hands in just about everything, but it doesn't work with just one person. We all work together and we all make it so it's effective.
And speaking of, the whole group working on these things, one other project that we're working on this year, which is a huge undertaking, is the creation of the digital literacy competencies. We have committed to working on that this year, and I'm just really excited to see how that turns out, to see what we find, to see how we adapt it so that we can have the digital literacy competencies for practitioners, hopefully by the end of the fiscal year. Let's see.
Right. Yeah. So these are some of the really exciting projects. They're all very different. Tech Tuesdays are recurring. We do Google Intensive twice a fiscal year. The Nearpod stuff where we're going to finalize and have that schedule out soon. So for practitioners interested, please go to the NMDELT website. We have so much, as well as the Propel website. We put all our offerings. We also send out email reminders. There are ways. Ask your boss. You want to join something, please. There are so many ways to just be a part of these professional learning opportunities. So I just answered that
And we
question.
will have the
Yes.
NMDELT website listed in our resources for this podcast episode.
Absolutely. So, what is one tech tool that you would like our audience to know about?
I'll go first because I've been thinking about this one. The one tech tool that I wish everyone would know about would be Google Calendar. I feel like it's one of the most basic ones to use, but especially with how much we do and what Emily said is that our response to what a typical day looks like, just the ability that Google Calendar has to organize a very busy life. And I know adult educators, our lives are busy. We're always thinking, we're always trying to do, we're trying to make sure everything is organized. And usually we have 2 or 3 different jobs that we're trying to balance. But Google Calendar is that one tool that I use every day. Even on the weekends, I'm just like putting stuff in, trying to do updates. I have my tasks on there. And it just helps to keep my life organized. And it's a tool that I feel like everyone should use. It's not always used, but it is a tool that I feel everyone should use.
My recommended tool is also a Google tool. And the tool that I wish everybody knew about and used more was Google Docs. We get used to using Microsoft Word because it's in our schools, it's in our offices. It is very expensive to purchase as an individual, which I discovered whenever I graduated college and, went home and tried to do a Word document and did not have a license for Microsoft Word anymore. I went to renew it, and without the student discount, it's like $600. Well, it was $600 10 years ago. So it's probably more now. But Google Docs is free. It is a word processor that students will always have access to. So they will always be able to use it to do a resume, do a personal project, submit something for a job search or anything like that.
Man, I've been using Google tools for so long because I graduated and couldn't use Microsoft Word. And then when I went back to grad school, I just stuck with the docs anyway because I was like, I've been using this for a while. Why am I going to switch back and forth? But yeah, great tools. For me, I was going to say Canva as my tech tool. Canva is a design platform. There are free accounts, but it's very limited. At Propel, we use the pro account. If you're a nonprofit or an education organization, you can get access to a free pro account. You'll have to talk, though, to your administrator to figure out how to finagle that. But one thing I love about Canva is real designers will call it not a design tool, which is like, okay, yeah, we're not graphic designers. But what we've been able, it kind of in a weird way sort of democratize, though, that skill set. Because I can make flyers really fast using templates and changing just certain things and presentations in a way that I couldn't before, or using like a Microsoft Word template, something, for example, would be very limited, where Canva, for me at least, feels very easy. We also make all of our Tech Tuesdays, we use Canva presentation or video mode, whatever. And I've recently started using it just for like just ideation. So like I'm trying to think of like, how am I going to do this one thing? And I just kind of throw elements together and figure it out. And most of the time I like end up not using whatever I started with, but that helped me. That helped me kind of put it together. And they have a whiteboard too, which I am working on a video coming soon, Tech Tuesday, check it out, on how to use the Canva whiteboard and just overview of it. And it's just so simple for me. It's just way easier to use Canva. I can't even use Google Slides anymore, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Like I can't. It's so limited in its features, and like I struggle with like manipulating certain things because it can't be manipulated in the same way as it can in Canva. So I became spoiled now. But yeah, so that is my tech tool that I think everyone should try to find a way to use. They also have videos and tutorials, which are great. And they have design challenges. There's just so much there. I would just say, go on, play, be silly, let yourself just engage and just figure things out because it's beneficial in the long run.
Canva really is the bomb. I got to tell you, I love it. I just love it. But the tech tool that I want to share is one that I use regularly, and that's ilovepdf.com. It is a PDF converter tool. It is also a PDF editor tool. So if you are ever dealing with PDFs, whether you need to merge them, split them, reorganize them, convert them between Word or Excel or JPEGs to PDFs or back and forth, any of that, and editing PDFs, adding to them, highlighting them. I love PDF.com. It's just such an easy tool to use, whether you're an administrator or an instructor or any role. It's a lifesaver.
I got nothing. My favorite tech tool is a book. So I'm still a little bit of a Luddite and I'm learning from my NMDELT team.
Oh, Jennifer, that's funny. Okay. A book, technically, I mean, we don't think of it as, but it is a technology. So, yeah, we love books. I love books. I'm surrounded by them in this room. You can't see because this is a podcast and you guys just have this little web camera, but books are a huge part of my life. And that's how I start learning, really, is I buy a book and just read, figure it out, then move on from there. That's kind of my learning process. And that leads to having dozens and dozens of books that I'm like at different stages of reading, and it's madness. The house is it's like a chaotic book hovel that my partner and I live in.
Have you adopted a system for your nonfiction yet? And have you
No.
decided between Dewey Decimal and Library of Congress?
Oh my goodness.
I would recommend Library of Congress for your personal nonfiction collection.
Oh my goodness. It's not an addiction, it's a curated collection. No, it's not even a curated collection. There's bags of books or stuff shoved on these shelves. I recently put up shelves right above my desk that you guys can't see, but it's just anything that I'm thinking about in the moment. And some of them I haven't thought about in months, so I just move it around. I'm very disorganized in that manner. I would say I'm better at organization using a tech tool such as Google Drive. Let's plug. Google Drive is a great tech tool that I organize all our documents and stuff in, right? And that, ties really well with Google Calendar. But for some reason in real life, I'm not. But like online, I'm organized pro.
Why is digital literacy so important for adult education practitioners?
I'm going to start this off. Digital literacy is so important. It's kind of what I was saying before, is that it is not an option anymore. You could be an incredible teacher, but there is some form of digital activity that you have to engage in some way. If you want to attend a training at Propel, you have to know how to use a computer, how to log on the internet, how to log on to a Google account. Now, I'm not even talking about Gmail at this point. You have to know how to be added to servers. You need to know how to open the file. You need to know how to fill out a Google form. Just me, and I know that people listening to this obviously have better skill sets than I generally, but think about all of those are skills. We kind of take it for granted, especially since we are we're the technology team of the state. We take that for granted, but those are skills that people had to develop and we had to learn because we were not born learning how to use a keyboard, right? It is not an option. We have to learn and we have to have this kind of trying this mindset of moving forward because we're only getting older. So as we get older, as systems change, the gap is going to get like wider and wider. So as a species, because this is how we communicate, one form of communication, we have to know, like that's it. It's mandatory, people. Like there's no way around it. You got to learn whatever the skill set is. It could be as simple as those examples I gave, or it could be something far more complex, but you're going to need that base. And that's why it's so important for digital literacy. It's also a responsibility to our students. If you cannot support them in developing these skills or point them in the right direction, that's a harm. And education could be a part of that bigger industry of social services. We have a responsibility here. Like if you're bad at your job and you work in like, I don't know, the mailroom somewhere, then okay, someone doesn't get their mail, boo-hoo. But if we don't support students in figuring out like, how to, You get on the website, how to sign up for service, how to sign up for classes. We can change the trajectory of someone's life. And that has definitely happened to students. Like, you could not help me in this way. I had to do all this to get to you. And now I have to figure out something else, or I don't even go down this path. So I try to keep that in my mind, like at the core, as who I was as a teacher. And now who I am as a professional developer is we have to be really careful, and we have to make sure that we are serving the populations that we do, because otherwise we could do harm, whether that obviously it's not intentional, but we could. And that's something that I set in myself. Keep vigilant.
You seriously hit the nail on the head there. We are tasked with preparing our students for jobs that don't even exist yet. And technology is almost 100% of the time going to be part of that. So very well put. And thank you for bringing that up, Nadia.
I think being digitally literate ourselves also allows us to use technology to do more. In adult education, we have smaller budgets, we have fewer teachers, we have a smaller staff. We are very limited in our spaces. We have fewer, funding streams for instructional materials. So the more technology tools we can use, the more we can do. We can serve more students. We can serve a larger service area. We can provide more individualized curriculum that we could not provide just with our hands and minds and our manpower here. And so in addition to equipping our students with tools that will allow them to find better jobs in the future, it also makes our jobs easier and allows us to do more with our jobs if we can use technology to be more efficient and more effective and have a broader impact.
Oh, yes. In a world where budgets go down and expectations go up all the time, technology definitely helps in creating efficiencies and making sure that we can continue serving our students. Because again, that's what we're doing, right? That's why we're here. Jennifer, Mariah, do you have anything to add? Okay.
You guys are awesome. You're lovely. You're gorgeous creatures.
We all are gorgeous creatures. And I have a feeling that I sound different now because my headset just died. So give me a second. Talk about technology. I have a spare headset.
Oh, you're prepared. That's like your second gun. Then is that a phrase? I don't think that's a phrase. I think I just made it up.
Oh,
it's like your cutaway shoot.
Okay. We will go to our last question. And this, of course, is open to anyone. Is there a piece of advice you would give to new practitioners or current practitioners who are still new to digital technology?
Jump in and don't be afraid that it fails, because it will fail.
I have
Solid
lessons
advice.
called WTF lessons, which means when technology fails. So always have those lessons on hand. But I think the biggest and best piece of advice I could ever give practitioners, my peers, is to go take trainings. Because even if you've been teaching for 400 million years, there's always something new to learn, always. And you can take away something new, especially that back of the room training. Those are awesome. They do incorporate the technology training with best brain practices. So my best advice, go learn stuff.
I think I would add to that, while you're jumping in and you're going to learn stuff, remember that you're never alone. It's really intimidating when you first step into this space and you start interacting with all these people and all these programs to feel like you're in competition. But in New Mexico, I have not found anyone that is, viewing it as a competition. Everybody's been very welcoming and open and willing to share, willing to help, whether they're on the NMDELT team, whether they're on the state team, or whether they just work for another program and know the answer to my question. So reach out. We're kind of like Kim Possible, call us, beep us when you want to reach us.
Oh my goodness, Emily, that reference is so old. Does anyone remember Kim
And the
Possible?
second thing is Kim Possible is after my time. So that makes me feel even older.
Yeah, Jamie's like, what are you guys talking about? I was watching the
Who's Kim
Electric Company.
Possible? Not. Okay.
I know.
No.
That's from the 70s, everybody. That's before Jamie's time. I'm just teasing. I'm a media nerd, so I'm gonna make those kind of references. It's older than me. But yeah, so my piece of advice, you guys' advice is absolutely excellent. My piece of advice for still new to digital technology is really lean into how you learn, because everyone learns very differently. Like, we talk in the field, and what's really, really popular right now is that learning styles. is kind of not really a theory anymore. And that's okay, but there are multimodal ways of learning. If you're the kind of person that needs to do, or like me, like do a complete deep dive, which there are some of you nerds out there, do that. What does that look like for you? Does it look like something that maybe you just spend a little time every week? Do that. Just really listen to yourself as a learner and think like, what works for me? And then go headlong into it, because that's how you're going to really build yourself up. And everyone builds themselves up in different ways. So I would say that about learning about anything really is just like, what works best for you? Go into that. Maybe test the waters a little bit. Maybe there's something that you haven't tried before. Maybe you haven't done an intensive before and you're curious. Go ahead. So yeah, just listen to yourself, kind of like listening to your body. That's what people say. Like, yeah, maybe if your body is screaming when you lift this thing up with your back, maybe don't do that. Maybe lift with your knees. I don't know. I'm weird with analogies, and I'm going to think too much about it. But Jamie, did you have any piece of advice that you wanted to share?
I think what I'm just going to end with, and kind of a way to wrap up what everybody was saying, is don't be afraid to ask. Ask for help. Reach out, because I really do love what Emily said. The support is out there, and the NMDELT team is here. So there really is no such thing as a dumb question. Ask. We are here to support you. Go to our website. Check us out, email us. Our email addresses are on the website. When you look at the About section, we are here for you. So please, please, please just reach out. That's what we're here for.
That's a great way to end it. So thank you guys so much for taking time, at the end of your long day when you should be at home with your families and maybe having a snack or something, or whatever you do to unwind. Thank you for taking this time just to talk about what we do. I feel like it's, again, like just so inspiring and just energizing to have this opportunity to talk to you guys about what you've been doing. And you've been doing a lot of projects. I know, because I'm the leader. So I know what you guys have been working on, and I have access to your timesheets. So it's really wonderful, and it's really great to get to know you guys in this context, like outside of just like kind of colleagues. But, we are colleagues, but we're kind of professionals. We're just professionals who have fun. So thank you, everybody.
Connect with Adult Ed, the NMEA podcast, is a project of the Propel Professional Learning System and is funded by the New Mexico Higher Education Department's Adult Education Division. Thank you for listening.